Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to another edition of Brownsville Matters. I'm happy this morning. I'm your host, Dr. W.F. Strong, and I'm happy to have one of my students from long ago, Miguel Roberts, is here. He is a photojournalist with the Brownsville Herald, where he has been for 10 years. Wealth of experience out on the streets of Brownsville, so he knows a great deal about this community, besides the fact that he grew up here. Welcome, Miguel.
Thank you, Dr. Strong.
Glad to have you back.
I'm glad to be here, Dr. Strong. When you say student, wow. I'm 40. I'm 40 years old now, and it's like what, 20 some years ago.
Yeah, when did you graduate?
2007.
Yeah. Okay.
So, 2007. Yeah. That's right.
Not quite 20, but 16, 17.
My math was never good.
So the question I have, I always ask this of photographers, because virtually everybody today is a photographer. Everybody's trying to take decent photos, doing the best they can with their amateur abilities. What are some bits of advice you give to people who would like to just take better photographs of family and friends?
Well,
or landscapes, doesn't matter.
Yeah, landscapes.
Anything. What are the major mistakes that people make all the time?
Well, that's a good question. It's a hard one to answer, actually, because there's so many ways to take a photograph. You could.
Well, I'll give you a hint, at least for me, is that I was always too far away from what I was taking a picture of. That was kind of, once I learned to get closer, that was a big help. That was a big help.
Yeah, you're getting closer to your subject that you're wanting to photograph. But as far as landscapes like sunset shots or sunrises, a good tripod and a long exposure will get you some very detailed shots, photograph.
Yeah.
So
you need some
and then maybe soaking in the moment, not just instantly. Let me run to my camera and get this shot. From my own experience, taking a sunset shot has always involved me appreciating it first, soaking in that moment, and then thinking about how I'm going to set this shot up as far as shutter speed, f-stop, the angle. Sometimes it doesn't have to be a horizontal photo. It could be a vertical shot. And then there's times that I won't use a tripod. Most of the times I will.
The tripod does what for you? It gives you steadiness?
Steadiness. It lets me shoot at a very low shutter speed. So I can shoot at a 15th of a second, 10th of a second. And that allows, let's say there's motion and you're near a resaca or something, or water, or there's trees blowing in the wind. You want to get the sun still, but maybe you want some motion in the photograph. So you shoot at a low shutter speed, and you can get the branches kind of motion in there, kind of a blur motion of a tree moving or something like that. Yeah. I mean, there's so many ways to go about it, really.
Sure. The really well-known super photographers that work for National Geographic or whatever, don't they just go somewhere and sit for about 4 hours before they get the shot?
Patience is a crucial factor in photography. It really is.
But you're a photojournalist.
But there's no patience in photojournalism.
That's right.
You're on the move. You're on the you got to think fast. You got to that viewfinder is constantly on my eye, especially when it's breaking news. You just don't.
So how does it work? They give me your typical day where you're sent out on assignment. Tell me how it happens.
Sure. I usually get a phone call from my editor, if not from a reporter. And it's usually a day before. If not, it's the day of. And we'll just discuss what they need. Maybe if it's a slower day, maybe some photographs, some architectural photography, some facade shots. But sometimes it's people. So they may need a photograph of the mayor or commissioners.
Okay, so you have some shots that are obviously planned to complement some
story or piece
that's already being filed.
Right.
And then sometimes you're covering the breaking news of a tragedy, a house fire, or something.
Car accident, anything. I mean, what I cover is just pretty much all across the board. Sports, crime, human interest stories, features. So yeah, it's no day is alike in my job. It's.
Oh, I'm sure. Yeah.
I've had a friend tell me your job is one giant playground every day, because you just really don't know what the day brings. I mean, we have budget meetings, but it's always changing constantly.
So what are the big stories? You've been doing this for 10 years. What are some of the big stories that you've covered where you liked the photograph you got, where you said that is a money shot right there?
I think, when the migrant situation was, that influx of migrants, excuse me.
And you went
down going to Matamoros and going to that tent city and seeing those Doctors Without Borders and their compassion to help people they don't even know. They don't know their stories, what they've seen, and they're there. They're there treating them if they have a cold. That was photographs that I will cherish with me.
How many people were in the tent city?
No, wow.
Is it like 2,000?
Easily.
Easily. And they're from all over. They're Central America, South America.
Right, and they're living as a community. Yeah, they were cooking there. I mean, they did everything there. Well, children playing.
How did they eat? How did they afford to live there and stay there and eat? They got. I know there were organizations from here.
Many organizations that would go that would go help and drop off food. They would cross the border every day. I believe lunch. I think breakfast, lunch, dinner. They had volunteers going in there, and they would take loads of food and drop it off.
So to get that story photographically, what do you look for? I mean, you talked about compassion, so you wanted a shot of empathy and compassion, certainly.
In those situations, that works for sunsets and landscape. But when you're put in a situation like that, I try to leave my emotions out of it. And I try to just tell a story through my camera.
All right.
So I'm telling you that I walk the grounds trying to just tell the story through an image as best as I can. So if I see a family huddled around a little campfire and they're cooking, I want to show to the people that it's a tough situation. Yeah. It's this is on a daily basis, 3 times a day, breakfast, lunch, dinner, if possible. I mean, if they're
you were
eating.
Taking pictures, at least in that situation, that were not unlike the Social Security Administration famous photos of the Dust Bowl years in America and the Grapes of Wrath and all that. You were getting people surviving under very, very difficult circumstances. Right,
exactly. And that's kind of the perspective that I'm glad you brought that up. It's during the Great Depression, it's
like the Runyon photos and those types.
That is actually what I'm thinking. And those type of stories, I know ahead of time that I'm going to be at a place, usually a day before or hours before, and I'm already running these images through my head before I even get there. Right. So I'm planning on the type of photos I want to capture before you're there. Before I'm even there.
Yeah. The photos that you took in that circumstance, I guess in most circumstances they run in the physical papers, black and whites, right?
Yeah,
or color
that's
sometimes.
dying out, Dr. Strong. It really is. We're only printing twice a week now. When we were printing daily, and everything is going digital.
Yeah.
So far as
So you have color online, and then you have black and white.
and
in the print.
we're getting better on our photo galleries. You know, we're trying to push those more kind of a photo essay style galleries where we can blow them up big online.
Oh yeah, they're wonderful online, backlit and everything.
Exactly. So we're really pushing that right now, and I think we'll get better at it as time goes on. But
Okay, so you say the migrant story was one of your big stories that sticks with you.
yeah, it sticks with me, and there's many.
One?
Oh yeah, there's many others. I mean, Charro Days is probably as funny as this may sound, it's probably my favorite time of year to shoot. I love shooting Charro Days. I love walking down Elizabeth Street before the parade starts because that is our community.
Yeah.
That's
good. I like that.
The families sitting, waiting on the parade and waiting for the spectacle for their year and our year, right? This grand celebration of our culture, our heritage. I love it because it continues that tradition, and I don't want to see that tradition go away by any means.
And everybody, some people are in costume, children are dressed up.
Right. You're teaching. They're teaching the next generation, and
so you capture that, passing on the tradition.
Actually,
through photos.
I really take a liking to shooting photographs before the parade starts because you get them. I have this small camera with me. I call it my Dillinger, and I just they don't really see it on me, and I'm taking photos while I'm walking. I don't even put my eye to the viewfinder, but I have my settings. I know the settings I need it at to capture moments, because once they see that camera going on your eye, they know. They know, and they change. They change character.
Yeah, just like you put a microphone in front of somebody and they change.
Yeah.
Mostly they go silent is what they do.
Right, and I like to capture the moment when they don't know that I'm taking the photo because you're getting the authenticity of that moment, and it's very difficult to do.
I went recently with this photographer that was sitting down from Austin to take pictures of the Pitada.
Yes,
and
Southmost, right?
Eric Schlegel was his name.
Oh, yeah, Eric's great.
You know him?
Oh, my God, he's a fantastic photographer.
Yeah. And he'd done a lot of photography of Dallas Cowboy games, way back. And so he was really excited about doing this as a Dallas tradition here. And so I went with him. I told him, well, you take the pictures, I'll drive. And I just thought that he was just going to, hang out the window and take pictures of passing cars. But no, he gets out in the street.
Oh, yeah.
And he gives me a light to backlight, the cars,
right.
So that he can get, and he's in front of the cars, risking his life.
Right. Yeah, he's pure adventure.
Yeah.
I mean,
yeah, it was awesome to see him at work. And
he worked at the Herald, I believe, for some time.
I think he's mentioned that. Yes, way
with Brad Doherty, who is my mentor.
Yeah,
and that's how I actually got into photography. It was taking a black and white film, 35 millimeter class with Brad Doherty, who was the head photographer at the Herald, the chief photographer at the Herald for I think decades.
And what did he teach you?
He taught me the importance of, today, I'm shooting with film at that time.
Oh, yeah.
And you have 25, maybe 30 some shots.
So you have
so you really have to, you got to be careful. You got to think about how you're going to shoot, what you want to take a photograph of, what you want to capture. So has stuck with me since. I buy 1 gigabyte SD cards to challenge myself digitally, and I'll put the 1 gig card in my camera, and I only have about 20 some shots. And I've done it at work where I've gone on assignment with a 1 gig card just to challenge myself, because it does push you. It pushes you to get that a better angle.
Get the composition right.
The composition right. The timing. And
well, I think that some people, knowing that they have unlimited photographs available, I think they are the gun equivalent of pray and spray.
Exactly.
Spray and pray, I think they call it. So you're not targeting anything. You're not good.
Yeah, it's all about I go online and you see these digital cameras and it's this many frames per second, and I'm just thinking to myself. Maybe that works for sports. There is a need for that.
Sure.
Sports for sure. Anything that's fast paced. But in my line of work, most of the time you have time to think of the composition to kind of just capture that particular moment.
Sure.
And then it works with reviewing my photographs too. When I sit down and I finally upload my photos and I'm reviewing them, and I thank God I don't have hundreds of photos. I've sat next to photojournalists and they're reviewing like hundreds of photographs that they shot. And I'm there going through maybe 50.
Well, I would think if you shot that many, you would be caught up in what I call the tyranny of options. You got too many options.
Too many.
You can't focus which one really is the best one. So you're kind of paralyzed by the numbers.
I want to say that in my younger years, being taken to cinema almost every weekend, or we went to go see a movie at the big screen.
Yeah.
Where smoking was allowed in the theater.
Oh, I remember that. Yeah.
And the curtains would open, and it's not like the movies today. You walk in, and to me in those times it was a celebration of film because it was an actual entertainment. You waited for those screens to open.
Yeah.
There were curtains. They open.
There was no advertising. There was nothing going on, before the movie started. In fact, what we call today previews usually ran as a trailer after the movie, which is why it was called a trailer.
Right.
It came after. But now the trailer is shown before. And so you're right. In the old days, the film itself was the attraction, the exhibition. Now we're going to open the curtains and reveal. That's
right. Yeah, my parents would drop me off at this Cinema 2 where El Globo used to be. I think it's North Park Plaza, and I think my parents thought it was a daycare or something there. They would drop me off there. I would go with some friends sometimes, but sometimes I would sit at the movie theater alone and just watch a movie, and I would take in those images. And I was just a very visual person growing up. I don't know how to explain. And disposable cameras. We were very blessed with my father being a doctor, being able to travel, and I would stock up on these disposable cameras before we would go on a trip. And even at a young age, I was taking photos. I had an interest in capturing a moment. And my sister saved me once where I was trying to document the homelessness at a fairly young age in New York. And the homeless man got upset and came up to me and wanted to take my camera. And my sister said, he's just getting new to this, just.
So she saved you.
She saved me from that.
And your camera.
Yeah, and my camera. He wanted to just throw that camera on the floor and just break it.
I ran into that problem when I was in Africa. I was taking a picture of some villagers, and they got angry about it, and so I stopped. And my guide, who was a Nigerian man,
yes.
He said, no. He said, you're going to upset them, so you don't do that. And I said, they're afraid I'm capturing their soul. And he said, no.
Oh, wow.
He said, no, they're not. He said, that's the old, that's the old case. But now they're familiar enough with technology. They know it's not, magic. But he said, they fear that you're going to take this picture and go home and make fun of their poverty. that you're taking a picture of them washing clothes in the river, and you're going to go make fun of them for doing that.
Right.
And of course, not my idea at all. I was like you, trying to document real life, but that's part of the challenge.
The
right?
challenge, yeah, it is. Because I was actually documenting homelessness here in Brownsville. I mean, I wasn't publicly announcing this or anything. I was just doing it on my own, where I would go at late hours of the night, downtown Brownsville, and I was capturing these homeless, they be where they lived. Mm-hmm. They're where they laid their head at night,
This is important because if you look at the Runyon photos and all those glorious photos taken by the people during the Depression, it's a capturing of history as you cannot ever get it again, and it tells a story that nobody else can tell. That's
right.
why those pictures are float around the internet, not only for the life that they reveal, the tough life these people lived, but also for the aesthetics.
Right, and that's
they're
what
gorgeous photographs.
That's what I wanted to document. Is here. These are the type of images people don't see, mm-hmm. and I wanted to show that in a not sensationalize it, but to document it, like you say. Mm-hmm. Which I did a show called Majestic Grit, and that's why I called it Majestic Grit, because downtown Brownsville, it was before this whole revitalization mm-hmm. that's going on now, which I encourage. Mm-hmm. I really do. But I called it Majestic Grit before all this investment is going on now, because downtown always had something majestic about it, but a grittiness to it as well.
That's a beautiful metaphor.
And before the bus shelter moved to where it presently is, the bus shelter, the bus station, I should say, was at where City Hall is right now, mm-hmm. the City Plaza.
Right.
And a lot of the homeless would sleep there at night. And I found it kind of interesting one night when I was photographing there. They would have the music on the speakers playing 24 hours there underneath the roof. And it was classical music, and I thought how interesting this is some kind of help for their sleep. I was thinking when I was photographing that, because
at least it wasn't headbanger music.
Right.
You can sleep to classical.
To classical music, and I got one homeless man sleeping on his two hands, and I got a very tight shot on that, but I didn't show his face. Yeah. It's just the back of his head.
Yeah.
And I wanted to show that there's a need for a homeless shelter, I think, downtown. Mm-hmm. And it's something that's, to me, overdue. Really? I know there's the Good Neighbor Settlement House.
But it's not really downtown.
Right. And they do such a phenomenal job with the homeless, but I think we need something bigger. Mm-hmm. Where they can where they can shower, where they can maybe sleep a few nights there. I know the Ozanam Center does it, but that's way out by the airport. But maybe something more centrally located would be nice.
The struggle with that, and a lot of people in government will say, if you build the great shelters, you attract more homeless who are in Corpus, and they say, ¿Sabes qué?
Let's go. Vámonos a Brownsville.
They've got a really nice new facility down there. So it's really tough to
It is tough. And, going back to when I was photographing more homeless at that time, I would speak with them. Mm-hmm. And a lot of them don't want help. Mm-hmm.
I like the lifestyle. Some of them.
I'm going to be on. Many of them told me that. I'm happy not having to work, not having to pay bills, and I can get by this way. And they don't want.
Some need help.
Some do. I'm not saying this for all, but some of them are. They're just.
They get a Social Security check. and they have means of accessing that money through the bank, through the ATM, and they like the lifestyle. I mean, you go back to let's see, I'm trying to think of his name, called the Wild Jack London. Jack London had plenty of money, but boy, did he love to hop the trains and be a hobo, as they called it.
Right. Oh, yeah.
He thought it was a great adventure.
Right.
And so there are people who just enjoy the culture, if we call it that.
Right.
And the challenge of living
right. And all I'm trying to say is that it'd be nice to have more than two. I think there's only two that are helping. That there's somewhere where there could be an outreach where they can at least get clean clothes, get a shower, and things like that. But that was something that I documented with Majestic Grit.
Yeah, we have to be careful with what I just said, because a lot of people seize on that and say, well, see, they don't really want help, and so nobody needs help. But
and I'm not saying that at all. I'd see maybe more of an outreach program where...
I'm guessing that there's probably maybe 20% who like the lifestyle and don't want help. But there's a lot who need help.
But where they can get access to medicine.
They can get access when they need it,
So...
Yes. I think we have more. Well, let's not get. We can go off on that.
We're
here to talk about photography.
Rabbit hole here.
But it proves your point: is that your photographs create and inspire conversations, and that's what you want.
Absolutely, that's what happened at the Majestic Grit exhibition. When it got people talking. How can we, like I said, do more of an outreach for these homeless that live on our streets.
So good photography is rhetorical in nature, in that it provides a kind of visual argument or a perspective that inspires more discussion of the thing.
And I like the way you put it, Dr. Strong. It's capturing history. Mm-hmm. You're documenting it.
You are.
And it's going to be out there, whether people agree with it or not. Yeah. It's going to be there.
I think that all the time when I look at, I think Lang is one of the great photographers.
Yes, absolutely, right.
Is it Jessica? No, she's an actress. Anyway, Lang was one of the great photographers of the Depression. And oh
my God.
And I think how wonderful. Dorothy Lang, yes.
Yes.
I think of her and all of her contemporaries who did this, and I think God bless them, because we wouldn't have a record. We wouldn't have a record of that, not a visual record, if they hadn't been out all over the country.
I'm glad you mentioned her. I'm glad you mentioned her. She's actually a photographer that I wrote my essay piece for my photography class on, and her images are just breathtaking.
Well, she took the most famous photograph of the Great Depression.
That's right, with the mother
and the children.
Right,
and
incredible image.
And then, but
powerful.
But people came back and later, they criticized her for posing her.
Maybe posing it right, and it's.
So she had captured it first, but then she'd say, "Well, I want to see that baby a little better," and so
right, and then that's something in photojournalism that
is a no-no.
Absolutely, setting up a scene is a no-no, and that's why when I'm on the field, I don't want to have a conversation with anyone. I kind of walk in there. And I just have my head down, but I'm observing.
Yeah. You don't want to change the scene.
I don't.
By the virtue of your presence.
Exactly. So I try to just walk in there, I won't even tell the reporter I'm there. And they'll call me and say, Miguel, were you did you show up? and I was like, I got your photos, don't worry. I just went in and I got out. And that's usually a decision that I make, that I got what I need. Now let's get back to the let's get back and get these photos out.
I remember, for some reason I'm thinking of this, Armstrong, when he wrote his book about all those wins that he had at the Tour de France. And his book was called "It's Not About the Bike." Of course, this is before we discovered the steroid problem. But anyway, the point is made that it's not about the bike, meaning the bike isn't the thing that's making the talent, you know?
Right.
And so I ask you, is it about the camera? Is it about the camera? Does the camera matter?
That's a great question. My personal experience and my belief on that, it's not the camera. It's the person behind the camera that has the vision of what moment to capture.
Perfect.
And the angle. The angle is so important. Film teaches us this. When you go see a film, you know, these great directors, Martin Scorsese, I that's just one name drop, sorry. These great directors, it's the angle that really gets you into that scene. So it's the photographer and the angle.
I interviewed Wyman Menser once, and he's the great landscape photographer in Texas. And
incredible.
He told me that, he said, I chase the light.
Yes.
He said
lighting is everything.
He said it's all about the light.
Yes, I agree 100%. I am a big photographer on night photography. I love night photography because I'm chasing the light. Yeah. I'm looking for the right light poles, and Christmas time is a great time. I love shooting at Washington Park because they decorate the trees with all the Christmas lights. And
you know, I was driving by Southmost the other day, and they have a beautiful Christmas lighting.
Yeah, they do.
The trees there.
Yes,
very, very nice.
And if it rains during Christmas time, I am running with my camera downtown because the reflections you get off the streets. The light reflections you get, and you put your camera on a tripod, and then you delay it, and you have a f/16 aperture. You know, you're letting in such minimal amount of light, but you're letting it soak in all that light through a long exposure, and you get these beautiful tracing lights, movements from the cars. You get these star images from the light post because you're allowing such time. I like to put my camera on bulb where I get to decide how long I leave that shutter open. There's been times where I've left it open for minutes, and I'm just there counting in my head and thinking of the image that could come out.
So this is your aesthetic photography for shows. This is different from what you're doing for photojournalism.
Right. I like to say I have two.
You're in two worlds. You're in two worlds.
In two worlds.
Yeah.
And during the day, I'm a photojournalist, and at night, I'm just this wild photographer. That
you're visual Jekyll and Hyde.
Yeah.
Right.
So it sort of works like that.
Well, listen, thanks a lot for coming in.
Dr. Strong.
You've given us a lot of good advice, and for me as an amateur family travel photographer, you've given me
have my
some
contact,
advice.
Dr. Strong. I appreciate your photographs too. I've seen your landscapes that you take there at your home.
Yeah. But it's the same one. It's the same one over and over. I just get a good sunset. I look at the.
But you appreciate it.
I do. I look at the clouds at 4 o'clock sometimes, and I'll tell my wife. I said, "Oh, we're going to get a beautiful sunset tonight. We're going to have a lot of reflection. I want to be ready."
There it is.
And so I have a whole collection of just Resaca sunset photos.
Love it.
But you're right. You know, you need to appreciate.
There we go.
The world you live in.
Absolutely.
And my wife has told me, you know, you ought to have some of those develop into print and put them around the house so we can appreciate, where we live. So maybe for Christmas.
And if you need any help with that, I know beautiful printing companies that will print those beautifully.
Thank you.
Yes, Dr. Strong.
Appreciate you coming in, buddy.
Thank you.
Thanks for watching this BSPA video. Go ahead and hit like and subscribe if you like what you see. And if you really like what you see, go ahead and go to our website, brosoperformingarts.org, and smash the donate button. And then we'll really like you too.